So, what I'm going to be talking to you about today is something that not a lot of people have heard about from me because up until now, I've been primarily focusing on short form content and I haven't had the opportunity to really tell people my story, how I even got to this point, how I went from as an incredibly average person from making $63,000 a year, working 40 plus hours a week, to making over $1 million without a traditional job, without a real job, like most people are raised doing. And I think it's really important that people who are interested in pursuing this opportunity know how other very normal people made it happen. A lot of times when you see really successful creators or really successful millionaire entrepreneurs online, you also see them in really fancy houses. You see them driving really fancy cars and wearing $10,000 plus jewelry. And that's not who I am, and that's no shame to them, but it makes it hard to believe that other average people are capable of reaching those same goals when you see other people who have already met them. And so I think a lot of people, when I talk to them about making money online, they're like, well, you've already done it. You already have a ton of followers. You've already been doing this for several years. And yeah, I have now, but I started at zero everything. Everything. I had zero followers. I had no Instagram account. I had no emails. I had no idea what I was doing. And I want to explain to you how I went from a crazy average full time corporate job mom to being a millionaire entrepreneur with no experience. And I'm currently at the beach. This is my in law's place. Again, fancy, like I get that. But my normal setup is a 1929 farmhouse. And I live in the middle of a field in Texas. So this is every once in a while for me, but we enjoy it. But in order for you to understand how I achieved this success, I want you to understand where I came from. And again, this is going to be different from my normal YouTube videos, but I also have never had a chance to really tell my story um, and allow people to understand who I am and who you're learning from. So I have some notes if I'm looking down, that's why. But I was raised in a faith based family. We are, we're all very conservative. I was raised with this idea that if you need money or if you want money, you work for it and you work hard for it. Okay. And typically you work for somebody else because starting your own business is risky and you can't afford the risk. And I came from a farming family in Texas. My dad's a farmer, my brother's a farmer, my grandpa was a farmer, my cousin's a farmer and a mechanic. Um, and I started working when I was 14 years old, paying my own bills, paid my phone bill, paid my insurance. I bought whatever clothes I wanted, and I paid for whatever fun activities that I wanted to do. Allowance was not a thing, it didn't exist. I did what my parents told me to. We had chores, we had to mow the lawn, and and anything that I wanted outside of what my parents would provide, basic necessities, I had to pay for myself. I did what everybody told me to do. I did what everybody else was doing. I got decent grades in high school. I didn't have crazy high SAT scores, but I went to college and I got a liberal arts degree because my goal was to be a teacher. But when I started taking the education courses, I realized that I absolutely hated them. And I was like, there's no way that this is what I want to do. So I went ahead and graduated college with a liberal arts degree. And I had no idea what I was going to do. But after I graduated college in 2015, I could not find a job to save my life. I started taking like odd jobs, and my friends who had a successful boutique hired me, I think out of like pity. I was making like $10 an hour, and that's how I was trying to provide for my family. But that's pretty much all I was doing. And I was applying all the time, and just nobody would hire me. But I ended up getting a job at a civil engineering firm as a temp. So the front desk girl was going on maternity leave and they needed somebody to fill in. My husband had some connections and they ended up pulling me in for for an interview for a temp position. And they were like, all right, cool, you want it? And I was like, yeah, I absolutely do. I think at that point I was making $12 an hour temping. And that job lasted for 3 months. And then another girl went on maternity leave, and then another girl. So I was filling in for three different positions for about 9 months. And then they ended up hiring me full time. So I was working at a civil engineering degree. I had no idea what civil engineering even was going into this job. But when they ended up hiring me full time, I was assigned to a team working at a firm. Okay. And I spent 5 years with this firm, still making a maximum of like $15 an hour. And I was working very hard. I was commuting an hour, hour and a half every day. And this job also had kind of a lot of toxic qualities to it. It ultimately made me a lot of who I am now, and I don't regret it, because it shaped so much of who I am and how I was able to get to this point. And I'm not going to go into the details on that, but just know that I spent a lot of time there, and I learned a lot of really, really, really hard lessons about working corporate job, about working for men as a woman, as a mom, and kind of what that looks like for women in general. And I think my experience is probably what a lot of women experience as well. But ultimately, eventually, I left that job for another civil engineering firm because at that point, that was the only experience that I had, and I was working as a writer for, and I was working as a writer and I was working as a writer, writing zoning reports for different cities and projects all across the United States. Long story short, I moved up to be a project manager, and I was managing a team of writers for a couple of years there. But it was in the fall of 2022 that I realized I was just still violently unhappy. Okay. The second engineering firm was remote. I did everything that I could to get at least a remote job so that I could be closer to home. I could, be at home, be with my family. And it was better, but I was still chained to my desk, and I was working even more because I was remote. I felt like I had to. I was watching my husband and my kid live the life that I wanted through a couple of windows in my house. So it was in the fall of 2022, like November, that Instagram started feeding me this make money online content. And I watched it for solid month and a half, thinking this is scammy, sketchy, this was fake. People don't make money online. That's not for real people who live in Texas in the middle of a field and have a family to support. But Instagram obviously kept feeding me this content because I kept watching it. And at some point, I kind of broke. And I was like, fine, I'm going to figure this out. Let me even see if this is real. Let me just click one of these links that everybody's trying to get me to click and see if this is real information, see if I believe it. So I did. And I did that for every creator that I came across. I was clicking everybody's link. I was trying to find out exactly what everybody was doing. Was everybody doing the same thing? Was it all different? Was it real? And eventually, a lot of these links that I clicked brought me to a program. So I ended up buying into a $2,500 program that would teach me how to make money by being an affiliate for other companies' products or other courses or whatever. We didn't have $2,500. We barely had $500 to our name, and that was for monthly bills and expenses. The only place that I had $2,500 was in my kids' savings account. And we weren't allowed to touch that. And it barely had like $2,500. Like there was not a ton of money in that account. We were just putting whatever we could in that account to get by or to save up for my kid. But it was the only place that I had it. So I was talking to my husband, and my husband is a different kind of person than I am in the best possible way. He believes that, he believes in what everybody says, high risk, high reward. And I've never, ever been a risk taker my entire life. Risk was risky. And what if you failed? What if it didn't work out? What if you lost? What if you made a fool of yourself? What if you lost the respect of people around you? So risk was not a thing for me. It was play it safe and just survive. But he's always wanted me to just try. And so he was encouraging, actually. I think this is the opposite from what a lot of people experience. He was encouraging me to do it. I was the one who was hesitant. But there was something alluring to this program. There was something about the make money online idea that I could not shake. And it was just intuition. People talk about women's intuition. I believe that strongly. And I believe that's what this was. So we did it. We pulled what little money we had from my kids' savings account. And I did not expect to get emotional about this. It gets me a little bit emotional because this was the first risk that I had ever taken. And I risked it with what money we were able to save up for my kid. And that was a really big deal for me. but we did it. I remember clicking that purchase button on the $2,500. That was a really big deal. It was really, really scary for me. And at that point for me, there was no turning back. There was no, what if I don't make it? It was, I have to, because I just spent $2,500 on my kid's money. You know, that was for his future. So I committed to it. There was, like I said, there was no going back. I committed. I was working 40 plus hours a week. On my lunch break, I was watching course modules. In the morning with my coffee, I was watching course modules. When I got home, or after I clocked out for the day, I was watching course modules. I was taking notes. I was setting up a brand new Instagram account. I was setting up a new email. I was buying domains like the course taught me to. Again, all with no real idea what I was doing, except following directions from this course that I bought. Because I had no idea, absolutely no clue how to make content, how to make a product that people wanted, how to speak to people in a way that made them trust me or believe that I was a go-to or an expert in this area, which I clearly was not. But there is one moment that I firmly believe defined the entire trajectory of the next couple of years, the next 2 years in the success of my business. One single moment. And I share this with every person that I can, because I know that this is the same, it can do the same thing for you. This isn't special. And don't roll your eyes when I say this, but it comes down to your mindset. And I've never been a mindset person, you have to understand. I have always been, always, and I still think that I am a lot, a glass half empty. I've never been an optimist. I've always called myself a realist because I don't like to get my hopes up. I do not like to be disappointed, especially in myself. I don't want to let other people down, and it's so much easier for me to never get my hopes up than be disappointed and just say, well, that's not what I expected anyway, or I didn't expect it to work out anyway. Things are much easier that way. Are they better for you mentally? Probably not. But this one moment is what defined how I would change as a person, as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, everything. And I remember it so clearly. I don't remember anything, but I remember this vividly. My husband and I were standing outside of our bedroom in our house in this little tiny hallway that we have. And it was on one of the days when I was working as a project manager at my desk that was crammed into our bedroom. And I was standing there looking at him because I was probably doing like course stuff while I was working. And I sat there talking to him and I was like, isn't it going to be so crazy if this actually takes off? And he didn't say anything, but I caught myself right after I said it, and I immediately repeated the sentence. And I said, isn't it going to be so crazy when this takes off? Again, I am not a mindset person. I did not know what a limiting belief was before like this past year. I had no idea that mindset was such a huge important part of running a business, being successful, being a normal person. I always just thought I'm going to be a realist and never get my hopes up. But if you don't know what a limiting belief is, let me just kind of clear it up in normal terms, okay? A limiting belief is exactly what you think it is, exactly what it sounds like. It's a judgment that you have about yourself that limits you in some way. So a lot of people, when they learn about online opportunities, limiting beliefs can look like, well, that's not real. I don't have what it takes. People aren't going to want to listen to me. I'm not smart enough to do this. I don't have the experience. I don't have the money to start. These are all limiting beliefs. And until you recognize it for what it is, it just sounds like you're being realistic about it. Like, well, realistically, I don't have the time. Realistically, I don't have the experience, and you have that. Realistically, I don't have an Instagram account. Realistically, I don't have an Instagram account. I don't have followers. I don't even know where to begin. These are all limiting beliefs that define you as a person. It defines your character, and it defines what you think is possible for yourself and for your life. So, regardless of what you're trying to do, I want to share some of the most common limiting beliefs that you have probably told yourself, that you have heard other people say, um, and that you might actually believe that could be holding you back from success, from the life that you want to live. So, I want to share some of the most common limiting beliefs that you might have heard that I often hear that will block success and happiness. And I want you to, when you have these thoughts, recognize them for what they are. It's a limiting belief and it's not actually true. And I know that I grew up as a 90s baby and everybody's like, you could be whatever you want to be. And then life kind of slaps you around and they're like, no, you need to get a job and just work. Don't worry about being something extra. Just do what you have to survive. But these limiting beliefs are lies that we tell ourselves when we're scared of doing something or when we're scared of getting outside of our comfort zone. These are the top 10 limiting beliefs I want you to be aware of. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too poor. I lack money and resources. I'm too fat or too skinny or too tall or too short. I'm not smart enough. I'm not popular enough. I'm not connected enough. Others are in my way. A huge one. I can't start. I'm not ready. And rich people hold all the good cards. These are limiting beliefs. I think I've had every single one of these except for the I'm too old. Actually, no, I've been starting to think that too. I'm 34. These are limiting beliefs that I'm sure that you have had and you've told yourself when you've learned about online opportunities. And the truth is, they're all lies. They are lies. But you have to acknowledge them for the lies that they are. And if you want, I am not a therapist. I am not a professional at this, and this is not a limiting belief. I'm just telling you the facts, okay? Um, I'm still new to limiting beliefs, and I'm still new to cultivating a mindset that fosters success and growth and change in the good ways, because these are all things that I was terrified of before starting this venture. Now, you're going to have these limiting beliefs, and I'll just kind of tell you quickly how I overcame them. The first one was identifying it for what it is, noticing that it is a limiting belief. I don't know that I can't do this. I've never tried it before. I've never failed at this. And so this idea that I can't do it doesn't come from anything except my own fear of it. So when you identify these limiting beliefs, try to ask yourself, where is it coming from? Why do I feel like this? Is it valid? Does this reflect any of my experiences or failures? Or am I just afraid of trying? Because a lot of it is going to come from fear of trying. Just understand that. The other thing that I did was I did it. Again, this was very hard to do. But one of my very first limiting beliefs, and please understand, I had a lot of limiting beliefs when I started this. Now I still have them, but they're different. So when you first start trying to make money online, your limiting beliefs are going to look different than after you have been doing it. For those of you who are just now starting, what I talked about earlier are probably some of the things that you're going through. If you found initial success online, the limiting beliefs that you might go through now are things like, I don't actually know how to run a business. I've never been a CEO. I'm not good at finances. I've never hired somebody before. I've never managed a team. I'm not smart enough to be a boss. I'm not smart enough to manage employees. These are kind of the things that I've experienced after finding success and at least clearing those initial limiting beliefs. But understand that this is going to be a lifelong struggle because we're human. So, yes, you can overcome these first limiting beliefs of just getting started. But once you do, you're going to be hit with another one. The good thing is, you're going to approach them the same way that you would the first ones, the first round of limiting beliefs. You're going to overcome them the exact same way by doing it. But at this point, you will have some proof. So you can say, well, I believe this when I started, but I was able to overcome that because I did this, this, and this. So when I think I'm not good at business, which I've been telling myself and I have to get better about, is, well, I might not be good at business yet, but I also wasn't good at creating content. I also wasn't good at speaking to people. Let me be very transparent with you. This is my first ever YouTube video. And you can tell this is not a professional setup, guys. The reason that I've been putting this off for so long is because I don't know YouTube. I've never done long form content. People aren't going to want to listen to me for 20 minutes and counting. I'm not interesting enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good at breaking things down. These are all things that I have been telling myself for a month because I've been putting off creating YouTube content. And here I am forcing myself to do it while I'm at the beach, while I don't have the right technology, I don't have the right setup, I don't have any of it, but I'm doing it. And I'm going to make sure that I get better at it. So you're watching me, you're literally watching me work through one of the biggest limiting beliefs that I have had after building a successful business. Now, I'm not going to, getting emotional made me kind of sweaty, so I'm not going to take any more of your time. I'm really glad that you tuned in to watch this. I hope that this gave you some clarity and some motivation, some encouragement that if a farm girl from Texas can become a millionaire without working for somebody else, why can't you? You can. The answer is you can. But you're telling yourself that you can't. And that is a limiting belief that you are going to challenge as you move forward. If you're watching this and you've already found success and now you're struggling with how to scale your business, and you find yourself saying things like, I can't break $10,000 a month. I don't know how to run a business that makes multiple 10-figure months. I don't know how to manage a team. I don't know how to hire the next person. These are the types of limiting beliefs that you're going to experience. These are the types of limiting beliefs that you need to, again, challenge. And you can do it. And I encourage you to seek out somebody who has already done it successfully and just get some advice from them. That is the absolute best way to find clarity. If you have already found success and now you're struggling and scaling your business to the next level, find somebody who has done it, who can give you the insights to do it successfully. Now, again, thank you for tuning in. I'm so glad that I got to share this with you. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry that I got weird and emotional. But tune in, or make sure that you hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be sharing a lot of really valuable information about how to run a launch. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be sharing a lot of really valuable information about how I run a 7-figure business. Until next time.